It's very rare to see a camera company release a camera with more features, but less expensive than the previous version, especially in this day and age, right? That's exactly what Hasselblad's done with the X2D II. But the question you're probably asking is it worth upgrading from the X2D? Do I need to get this camera? We're gonna talk about that, plus this 35-100. Let's get down to it. All right, guys, first and foremost, I'm not paid or sponsored for this video in any way, shape, or form. Hasselblad Singapore was kind enough to loan me the camera, 2 lenses, the 90mm f2.5 V-Series lens, and the new 35-100, but this stuff goes right back to them after I'm done with this video. So it's my thoughts and my thoughts only. Let's talk about the body design on this. It's very similar to the X2D, X1D II, X1D respectively. They know they have a very good body design. It's one of the most comfortable cameras to use regardless of full frame or medium format. It is beautiful. I've always loved the design of the X2D. And it is just as good here on the X2D II, but with some enhancements. First and foremost, let's look at the outside of this here. We've got a different color on this. It's a graphite gray, and the paint feels thicker than the X2D. You know, one of the things about the X2D that I noticed when I would go to these used camera shops and I would see it there is that you see these like fine scratches or little chips here and there. And I realized this too as well, is that the camera, the paint or the way they anodized it wasn't as robust as other camera systems. I think it's been improved on this one. It feels more robust. You can feel the texture of the paint. You're like, this feels thicker. Also, the Hasselblad logo, it's all the same color as the body. It's very stealth. The only thing is you're gonna see this orange shutter release here. I don't mind it. Adds a little bit of personality. It's fantastic. The texture around this camera is so comfortable to hold. I'm here in Singapore. It's hot and humid. Our hands get sweaty. It's nice to have something like this that you can really hold and you're not gonna feel like the camera's gonna slip out of your hand in any way. It is so, so good. I really love this. And it gives sort of a bit of a vintage feel to it. It looks like a bit more like wrinkled or worn leather, but it's just the way that the texture is. Not too sure if it's rubber or leather, I'm not too sure, but it's really, really nice. But when you turn to the back of the camera, we now have a joystick and a function button here as well. Everybody's been asking for a joystick for years. Hasselblad has listened, they've given it to you, and they've done a great job with it. Not only can you move around the focusing point here, it helps you in terms of selecting your autofocusing, subject detection, your focusing points, and you can press in to magnify manual focus and autofocus. A very nice thing that they've added to it. Kind of reminds me of the Leica SL, SL2, SL3 respectively. You press on the joystick, you magnify in, then you can adjust the focusing with the dials here, how you want to move it around. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And this function button here is great as well. And the nice thing about this is, especially with my size hands here, I'm not accidentally pressing it. The way that I grip right here, I'm not even touching the joystick whatsoever. So they've done a great job implementing it, at the same time giving you still the same solid ergonomics. Sensor is still the same 100 megapixel sensor, but I think there are some improvements in ISO. We'll talk about that when we get to image quality and performance, but I like how this looks. It's very, very nice. Photos don't do it justice. You gotta see this in person. It really is a beautiful, sexy, stealth looking camera. But now let's talk about this 90mm f2.5. I have been wanting to try this lens ever since it was announced. I was emailing Hasselblad repeatedly. They probably got tired of me emailing them. They said, we don't have a demo unit available. I finally got one from Hasselblad Singapore, and man, what a lens Hasselblad has made. It is so unbelievably good. I love this focal length. It's equivalent to, let's say, probably about an 80 millimeter, 75, 80 millimeter thereabouts when equated to full frame. Beautiful depth of field. It's beautiful. The images are sharp, beautiful fall off. This is one of my favorite XCD lenses I've ever used. I love the 38, I love the 55. This is gonna replace one of those if I could have the option. If you want a 2-lens combo, 38-90 may be the way to go. But if you're not a wide angle shooter, 55-90 all day long, that may be all you need. But if you want a lens that you can actually expand on and have a range from 35 to 100, then we're gonna talk about the new lens, the 35-100 f2.8 f4. So this is the 35 to 100 f2.8 to f4 variable aperture XCD lens, the newest zoom lens to the Hasselblad market, and this is gonna be that great all-in-one lens for a lot of you out there that wanna do, let's say, event photography, maybe you wanna do wedding photography, maybe you just wanna go out there and just travel and you don't wanna carry a lot of lenses. This is gonna be that lens I think a lot of you are going to enjoy because it's all-in-one. from 35 to 100, which, you know, if equated to full frame focal length, it's for like 28 to 90 thereabouts. So it's very similar to, let's say, the Leica 24 to 90 variable aperture SL lens. Kind of similar to that one, but this is a 28-90 respectively. But you're gonna get decent image quality out of this, and it comes in probably a little bit less expensive because obviously it's a telescopic zoom lens. You are getting much more of that, I think it's a lens very similar to, let's say, the 75 and that sort of range. Because I'm noticing this with Hasselblad, they've got two ranges of V-series lenses. They've got the, you know, obviously the 2.5s. Those are gonna be a little bit better optics. Then you have something like the 75, I believe the 25 thereabouts. Then you have something like this, but you're getting decent optics, and that's where this falls into. It's still sharp, really good color rendition, nice pleasant bokeh, but it is a variable aperture. When you get up to about 100 millimeters, it's gonna be an f4, which is great in like daylight, like where I'm at right now. But if you're gonna be, let's say, in a lower light situation, you're gonna see that ISO creep up, especially if you wanna keep the shutter speeds. But because it has 10 stops of IBIS, you're gonna be okay, more so than other camera systems that have an f4 lens and no IBIS whatsoever. You know what I'm talking about. You're gonna be good with this. But I would say it's not gonna replace your primes, but it's a good all-purpose lens. Can we take a moment and talk about this IBIS for a second here? They're claiming up to 10 stops of in-body stabilization. I mean, that's industry leading. I haven't seen a camera like this. The best stabilization I've seen thus far is from Panasonic with the S1R2, S1 II respectively. I will tell you this from my real world experience, I would say it's really nice to have solid stabilization, especially in lower light situations or if you want to be more creative with your shots. This is going to give you so much more confidence using the camera system. Now, again, I can't equate if it's 10 stops, 7.5 stops, 8 stops. I just can give you real world usage. I haven't had an issue with this camera because of stabilization. If it's autofocusing not locking, as I mentioned, pre-production firmware, okay. But I've never had an issue with stabilization out of this camera the time that I use it over the past few days. And I've kind of taken it through some more strenuous lower light situations. It is solid, it is fantastic, it is very, very good. Speaking of which, let's talk about image quality for a second, because there's something I noticed about this. Even though it's the same 100 megapixel sensor says on paper, I don't know if it's me, but I've noticed the ISO performance to be a bit better. Case in point, I was taking some very low light photos at this Hungry Ghost Festival in a temple, and it was very low light. And I was really pushing this camera's numbers up. When I saw the images, I played them back, you know, Lightroom and Focus respectively. Yeah, there's some noise, but it kind of reminds me of film grain. It looks like 800 speed film, maybe 1600 speed film thereabouts, if you want to equate it to a little bit more of that. It's still a very fine grain, but there's still a lot of detail there. And the image was great, the colors are great, the tonality was there, and I really liked how it performed at higher ISO numbers. Now again, I don't have an X2D to put it next to each other to see the difference, but it's something I picked up, I was like, ooh, this is a little bit different from what I remember, and that's a good thing. All right, so let's talk about the new autofocusing systems in this. Now we've got phase detect, we got contrast-based, and we have LiDAR. Now, I think this is the first time we've seen LiDAR out of any sort of camera system like this. We've seen it in our smartphones, and we've seen it from DJI when they have that sort of that focusing rig that you can put onto cinema cameras to kind of focus your manual focusing lenses. But I've never seen it into a camera system like this. Now, I don't know exactly how it decides what focusing system to use. I don't see settings inside the camera for that. At least I don't see it based on my experience. But I will tell you overall that in AFS, it is faster than the X2D. It's noticeably faster. In AFC, I'm going to say this, because I am using, I believe, pre-production firmware, especially on the 90 f2.5, you can't even use that on AFC at the time of this recording. It says you have to update the firmware on the lens, but when I go to Hasselblad, the lens firmware is already updated. So that means probably there's going to be an update from Hasselblad when this camera launches for all the lenses to be updated to get the best autofocusing performance out of this camera. I would say for the 35-100, it does work in AFC, and it does do subject detection, people, animals, cars, and you can turn it off. It's a bit hit and miss. So I'm not going to say it's not good. I'm just gonna say this is probably pre-production firmware. Notice some other bugs as well. So I'm going to wait for this camera to be released, probably see other videos out there, and then you guys can make a decision. But I'm sure Hasselblad and DJI are on the ball to make sure that this has the best autofocus they can. Because look, DJI's got really good subject tracking and autofocus performance. I mean, look at the Mavic 4 Pro and all their drones and the Pocket 3. I mean, they know what they're doing, right? And I expect to see not exactly the same, but similar technology in this, and works just as well. So let's just call it pre-production firmware. Let's talk about those autofocusing points for a second. You get 4 of them now in this. You got like a pinpoint, you got a slightly larger one that does tracking. Then you also have another one which you can adjust based on the front and rear wheels of the camera. So you can make it longer, more rectangular, more of a box shape. You can make it larger and smaller, which is great. Then obviously you have the full size or close to the full width of the sensor to do autofocusing with this as well. Then the subject detection modes, which are great. And I have a dog, a Rottweiler, right? Black fur, not the easiest to do subject detection with animals on. And it locks under eye pretty well, especially if there's decent light. And I would say with the 92.5 in AFS, and even with this in AFS, it was pretty damn accurate. AFC, as I mentioned, a little bit off, but that should be fixed. But I was very impressed with the subject detection on this. And I would say, is it going to rival the likes of Sony and Canon and Nikon? No, but it will definitely, I would say, be comparable to what we're seeing from Fujifilm with the GFX100 II in that range. And I think once they dial in the firmware, you're gonna see even better performance out of that. Were there any cons of this system that I noticed outside of maybe not having the final firmware? A couple things I wanted to take note of. They're not deal breakers, but there's something just to note. Case in point, the EVF. So on a lot of cameras, as soon as you bring it up here, the EVF is turning on. Not this, you have to actually, I have to touch my eye on the rubber right here, then the sensor activates, then I can see through the EVF. I wish it was a bit more sensitive because I missed some shots by doing this, because sometimes I thought I'm ready to go and I'm like, okay, like right now, it's still not on. The display's on, but this is not on. Where I have to actually move my eye over here and then it's on. So hopefully Hasselblad can improve that in a future firmware update. And then also this front dial here, this, if you're an aperture priority, you're gonna notice that you might bump this on accident sometimes, especially depending on the size of your hand. It may get in the way and you might like move your aperture. It's happened to me, it was at f4, f8 sometimes. I'm like, what happened? Then I realized, oh, it's this front dial here. So again, you can change the settings on that, but it's something to take note of. So the question you're probably asking yourself is, do I upgrade from an X2D to an X2D II? Well, if you're taking photos like where I'm at right now, like landscape or let's say buildings, and they don't move, you don't need faster autofocusing, you're good with what the autofocusing system is in the X2D, which is still pretty good, right? Probably not a real reason to upgrade. Yeah, you're getting 10 stops of IBIS inside of this, which is awesome. Yeah, you're getting the more subject detection, as I mentioned, the autofocusing points, but if your subject's not moving, that 100 megapixel sensor out of the X2D is still really good. That camera is not outdated by any stretch of the imagination. It's still gonna serve you very, very well. The reason to go to the X2D II is if you want more of that autofocus technology. You want to take this in various different scenarios and use it in a variety of different conditions. You want the better IBIS because you need it. Then it might make sense to upgrade. It's coming at a less expensive price than what the X2D came out originally, so it's kind of good in that way too. So now what about other camera systems in the market? How would you compare it to, say, the GFX100 II and the 100S II? And I would say, again, first impressions here, this is a photographer's camera. There's no video functionality in this whatsoever. Hasselblad Color Science, the natural color solutions as they call it, I call it industry leading. It's beautiful, it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite color sciences. I love how the lenses render. I'm a big fan of the Hasselblad system. So if you're into photography mainly, this is a very good camera to consider, and especially at the price point now, you might like it. Again, the lenses, maybe they don't have as vast of a lens selection as what Fujifilm has, but again, you have 100 megapixels, you can crop in, you can have a lot of play with the sensor, so you're still gonna be okay. And I would say those 2.5 primes, absolutely beautiful. I love those lenses. They are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, kind of my first impressions on the camera system. Again, hopefully I get it back. I can actually take it through its paces once firmware is updated, once all the lenses I can maximize to its potential in this camera system, because I was really impressed with the few days I've had this thus far, and I think you will be as well once you get into your hands. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on the X2D II. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you have any questions, I will try to answer those for you. Like always, like, subscribe. Thank you for the support. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll chat to you soon.